Life isn't waiting for you to explain yourself. It doesn't pause when you beg for closure, nor does it reward you for clinging to what no longer serves you. This video is not about finding comfort. It's about cutting the dead weight, sharpening your mind, and walking away from what weakens you. Here is 10 things you need to silently eliminate from your life for your own good. You've already started. You've learned that seeking validation from those who harm you is a losing game, that chasing goals out of obligation drains your potential, that your relationships thrive in privacy, not performance. You've realized that emotional control is power and judgment, both given and received, is wasted breath. Now the real work begins. This is where you stop explaining, start cutting, and move forward with ruthless clarity. You're not here to be liked. You're here to grow. Ready? Chapter 1. Why do you seek approval from those who harm you? Have you ever felt the urge to explain your pain to those who caused it, to make them understand the weight of their actions? Let me ask you this. Does the storm explain itself to the trees it uproots? A tree doesn't need permission to shed its leaves in autumn. In the same way, when others violate your boundaries or disrespect your worth, your energy is better spent rebuilding than justifying. Stoicism teaches us to focus not on others' perceptions, but on our own response. The moment you demand validation from someone who hurt you, you hand them power over your peace. Consider this. A 2010 study in emotion found that seeking validation from aggressors often deepens emotional wounds. Why? Because you're pleading for empathy from a source that lacks it. The Stoics called this amor fati, love in fate, not the harm itself, but the chance to grow through it. When you stop explaining, you reclaim agency. You become like a mountain, unmoved by the winds of others' cruelty. Here's a truth. People show you who they are through actions, not apologies. If someone repeatedly dismisses your worth, no argument will suddenly make them see your value. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." Quietly step back. This isn't avoidance, it's strategic preservation. Think of a gardener who discovers a poison plant. They don't negotiate with it. They remove it silently to protect the rest of the garden. Your mind is that garden. Toxic relationships, they're the poison. Prune without fanfare, no grand speeches, no social media declarations. Stoicism isn't about suppressing anger, it's about channeling it into disciplined action. Ask yourself, what do I gain by relitigating the past with someone who's already chosen to hurt me? Psychological studies on effort justification reveal that we cling to explaining ourselves because we want to believe our pain matters. But true power lies in accepting that some people will never grasp the damage they've done and being okay with that. Imagine a wolf with a thorn in its paw. It doesn't seek the hunter's remorse. It focuses on removing the thorn. Be the wolf. Your healing isn't a debate. It's a quiet, unyielding act of self-respect. Next time you're tempted to explain, ask instead, does this serve my growth? If not, let silence be your shield. The Stoics knew, what doesn't bend breaks. Some will understand your journey, others won't. Neither should stop you from moving forward. Chapter 2. Why are you dragging dead weight? How many goals have you abandoned halfway, not out of failure, but because they no longer served you? Picture a ship crossing the ocean. If its hull cracks, does the captain cling to cargo or toss it overboard to survive? Stoicism teaches us to shed what hinders progress, even if it once felt precious. Unnecessary goals are like rotten planks on that ship. They mock your endurance, demanding energy for no return. A 2018 study in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology revealed that clinging to unattainable goals increases cortisol levels, feeding stress. The Stoics called this premeditatio malorum, premeditating obstacles. Not to fear them, but to discern which battles are worth fighting. Ask yourself, does this goal align with my core values, or is it a ghost of who I once thought I should be? Consider the traveler who packs a backpack for a mountain trek. Halfway up, they realize stones they'd collected just in case are slowing them. Wisdom isn't in carrying every possibility, it's in knowing what to leave behind. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have so little time, but that we lose so much. Time wasted on dead-end goals is time stolen from your purpose." Here's the paradox. Letting go isn't quitting, it's strategic surrender. The world glorifies relentless pursuit, but Stoicism asks, at what cost? A tree in autumn doesn't mourn its leaves, it sheds them to conserve life for winter. Your goals should be treated with the same ruthless grace. If a path no longer fuels growth, abandon it, not with guilt, but gratitude for the lesson. Psychological studies on sunk cost fallacy show we cling to failing endeavors because we've already invested time. But the Stoic sage knows past effort doesn't justify future waste. Imagine a blacksmith forging a blade. If the metal cracks, he doesn't keep hammering. He melts it down to create something new. Your energy is that metal. Ask yourself tonight, what am I clinging to out of habit, not necessity? Write it down. Burn the list. Watch the smoke rise like a prayer for clarity. The Stoics didn't fear emptiness. They saw it as space for better things to grow. Next time a goal whispers, maybe someday, ask, does this someday exist, or is it a tomb for my potential? Cut quietly, move swiftly. Chapter 3. Guard your relationships, guard your privacy. How much of your life do you give away for free? Not just time, but access. Letting people peer into your thoughts, your struggles, your wins. Now ask yourself, do they deserve that access? A locked door isn't secrecy, it's security. The Stoics understood this well. True power lies in selective exposure. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." That means not everyone gets a front row seat to your life. Oversharing is not connection. It's vulnerability without discernment. A study in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships found that excessive self-disclosure in relationships, especially early on, weakens trust rather than building it. Why? Because mystery commands respect. Think of a well-guarded fortress. It doesn't open its gates to every passerby. It observes, it evaluates, it decides. Your relationships should function the same way. Friends, family, partners, who do you let into the inner walls? Seneca warned that trust should be earned, not given blindly. Let people reveal themselves through actions, not words. Here's the truth. Some people don't want to know you. They want information they can use, whether for gossip, control, or leverage. Every piece of yourself you hand over becomes potential ammunition. So, before you speak, ask, is this person a vault or a megaphone? Guarding privacy doesn't mean isolation. It means knowing the difference between authenticity and overexposure. You don't owe explanations for your choices. You don't owe access to your thoughts. You owe yourself peace. Next time you're about to reveal something personal, pause. Ask, does this serve my growth or does it feed someone else's curiosity? If the answer is the latter, let silence be your armor. The strongest walls aren't built from fear, they're built from wisdom. Choose wisely. Chapter 4. Mastering Emotion in Moments of Tension. Picture this. You're in the middle of an argument. Your pulse spikes, your breath shortens, and words sharpen like daggers on your tongue. At that moment, you have two choices. React anger or controlled anger. The weak react impulsively, the strong rule themselves. The Stoics knew this well. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. You will face provocation, you will face disrespect, but power doesn't come from striking back. It comes from standing still while others lose themselves." A 2019 study in Nature Human Behavior showed that emotional self-regulation increases decision-making accuracy by 23%. Because anger clouds judgment, it makes you impulsive, reckless, weak. The moment you let someone dictate your emotional state, you surrender control. They press a button, and you perform exactly as they expect. That's not power, that's puppetry. Think of a warrior in battle. If he swings wildly in rage, he tires, leaving himself exposed. But if he waits, calculates, controls, Life is no different. Emotional discipline isn't suppression, it's strategy. Here's a truth. Most conflicts are tests. Tests of your patience, your self-respect, your restraint. The one who controls their response controls the outcome. So the next time you feel anger bubbling up, stop, breathe, ask, does this deserve my energy, or does it just seek my reaction? Your emotions are weapons. Wield them, or be wounded by them. The choice is yours. Chapter 5. The freedom of letting go of judgment. How much of your life is spent worrying about what others think? How often do you hesitate, edit yourself, or shrink because of imagined opinions? Now, ask yourself, who appointed them as judges of your life? Judgment is an illusion. It's a cage built from other people's insecurities. The truth? People are too caught up in their own battles to think about you as much as you fear. And even when they do, their perception of you is more about them than you. Marcus Aurelius said it best. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. A 2017 study in the Journal of Social Psychology found that people overestimate how much others focus on them. It's called the spotlight effect. We think we're under constant scrutiny when in reality, no one is watching that closely. Still, you let imaginary critics dictate your choices. You hold back from speaking, from acting, from living fully, all because of fear. Fear of being misunderstood, fear of being disliked. But here's the Stoic truth. Approval is not the goal. Integrity is. Imagine a lion stopping mid-hunt because the gazelles might judge its roar. Absurd, right? Yet you do the same when you curb your ambition, dull your light, or soften your truth to avoid whispers. The world will judge no matter what you do, so why live for their approval when their opinions shift like sand? The next time doubt creeps in, remind yourself, I answer only to my own standards. Let the world talk. Let them misunderstand. Let them gossip. And while they do, you keep building. You keep rising. Chapter 6. The poison of comparison. Why do you measure your life with someone else's ruler? Why does their success make you question your own? Let's be clear. Comparison is a thief that robs you blind. And the worst part, you're the one leaving the door open. Social media, society, even our own minds, constantly whispering, look at them, they're ahead, you're behind. But behind what exactly? There is no finish line. Life isn't a race, it's a personal journey. The Stoics knew this well. Seneca warned, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. The suffering of comparison, completely self-inflicted. A 2018 study in Personality and Individual Differences showed that people who frequently compare themselves to others report higher stress, anxiety, and depression. Why? Because they chase a moving target. Every time you think you've caught up, someone else seems further ahead. Next time you feel comparison creeping in, ask yourself, 1. Is this helping me grow, or is it just draining me? 2. Would I still feel inadequate if I couldn't see their success? 3. What I actually want, separate from what they have. The Stoic way? Detach from the illusion of competition. Focus on your path, your pace. Let others run their race. You're too busy mastering your own. Chapter 7. A cage you built yourself. How often do you check your phone, not because you need to, but because it calls you? How many minutes, no, hours, have you lost scrolling through someone else's curated reality? Be honest, does it make you better or does it make you feel behind? Social media is not evil, but your dependence on it, that's the real problem. Yes, I know it sends you constant notifications and you also can't ignore if they're important, but you can, of course, be selective about it. A high-value person would never let something like this constantly manipulating him. The Stoics didn't have Instagram. TikTok still understood distractions. Epictetus warned, if you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. In today's terms, if you want to grow, be willing to ignore the noise. A 2019 study in JAMA Pediatrics linked heavy social media use to increased anxiety and depression, especially in those who tie their self-worth to likes, comments, and followers. Because social media creates a false reality. You see highlight reels, not struggles. Filters, not flaws. And the worst part? You compare your reality to their illusion. Here's the truth. Nobody's life is as perfect as their posts make it seem. 2. Engagement metrics don't define your value. 3. Your time is the most precious resource. Stop wasting it on an endless feed. The Stoic approach? Use it, don't let it use you. Set boundaries, limit mindless scrolling, create more than you consume, and most importantly, log off when it starts controlling you. Because in the end, the real world is happening beyond the screen, and that's where your life actually unfolds. Chapter 8. External approval. The chain you chose to wear. Why do you crave validation from people who don't live your life? Why does their approval feel like oxygen, even when it suffocates you? Stop. Look around. Do you really want to spend your one existence dancing for applause that vanishes the moment you stop performing? The Stoics knew this trap well. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinions than our own." Think about that. You put strangers' judgments above your own wisdom. Why? A 2020 study in Psychological Bulletin found that people who tie self-worth to external validation experience higher anxiety and lower life satisfaction, because approval is a drug, and like any addiction, the high fades fast, leaving you chasing the next hit. 1. No matter what you do, someone will disapprove. 2. People's opinions are shaped by their own insecurities, not your reality. Living for approval is a game where the rules constantly change and you never win. So what's the alternative? Decide who you are and let that be enough. Your worth is not a voting system. It doesn't rise or fall with likes, compliments, or applause. The Stoics called this apatheia, freedom from being ruled by external forces. Not indifference, but independence. Next time you catch yourself seeking approval, ask, would I still do this if nobody was watching? Because real confidence isn't loud. It's the quiet refusal to be anyone but yourself. Chapter 9. Handling relationships. Relationships, friendships, romance, family, they shape you, break you, build you. But here's the brutal truth. Not all of them are meant to last. The problem isn't that people leave, it's that you cling to what's already gone. Why? Because the fear of loss feels heavier than the weight of a dying relationship. Seneca wrote, "Associate with people who will make a better man of you." He didn't say, keep everyone just because you started with them. You must learn the difference between loyalty and self-betrayal. Some people fit a past version of you, not who you are now. Keeping them is like wearing a jacket 2 sizes too small, tight, suffocating, ridiculous. A 2017 study in Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin found that people tend to maintain relationships out of habit, guilt, or fear of loneliness, not because they are genuinely fulfilling. Sound familiar? Here's your reality check. People outgrow each other, and that's okay. 2. Clinging to toxic relationships doesn't make you loyal. It makes you afraid. 3. You can love someone and still walk away. The Stoics weren't cold. They were clear. They knew attachment to the wrong people drains energy, clouds judgment, and anchors you to the past. If a relationship constantly costs you peace, the price is too high. So ask yourself, would I choose this person if I met them today? Chapter 10. Unrealistic expectations. Stop setting yourself up for disappointment. You suffer not because life is unfair, but because you expect it to be fair. You expect people to act the way you would. You expect outcomes to align with your effort. You expect things to unfold as planned, and when they don't, you break. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Your pain doesn't come from reality. It comes from the gap between what is and what you wanted it to be. A 2015 study in the Journal of Behavioral Decision-Making found that unmet expectations trigger more distress than actual negative outcomes. Why? Because people spend more time grieving over what should have been than adapting to what is. Think about it. You expect friends to always support you. They won't. You expect love to last forever. It doesn't always. You expect hard work to guarantee success. It doesn't. The Stoics knew that expecting control over the uncontrollable is the root of suffering. So shift your mindset. Instead of expecting, adapt. Instead of demanding, observe. Instead of wishing, work with what's in front of you. Expectation says, life owes me. Reality says, life owes you nothing. Adjust accordingly. Let go of the fantasy, and you'll find freedom. Thanks for watching.